Hi guys, welcome to our tutorial. We'll guide you through the visabot green card application process. Basically, the process has three big steps: eligibility, information about you, and information about your foreign national spouse. So let's get started. So after you enter your bot, you will see a welcome message. Then to continue, we just click Do it visabot. You can see that our bot is interacting with you. And the first question is, when is the big day? This is your date of marriage, and you just enter the information. Let's just try 11/11/2014. We click send. So the next question is, are you a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident? Please note that if you're none of this, and then you're not eligible for applying for green card for your spouse. So here, let's just say I am a U.S. citizen. And next, you'll see a list of general eligibility questions. Basically, USCIS is asking this because they don't want you to bring in your foreign national spouse to pose a danger to the United States or to get a burden for the US government. So ideally, answers to all these questions should be no. Let's just say no to all. So next, the bot is asking, is your spouse now in the US in a valid, unexpired, non-immigrant status? Basically, only if your spouse is in the US in a valid non-immigrant status, such as H, L, O, or J, etc., you can apply for the green card for him or her. So here, let's just check yes. Great. Next bot will ask about your current employment information. As the US government doesn't want the foreign national to be burden of the US government, which means like he or she will need government to help them. So you will need to meet some certain income level requirement to be eligible to bring them in as permanent resident. So here, let's just say you're employed, which means yes. Then the bot will ask you how many people you're sponsoring, including your spouse. In your case, if you're only sponsoring your spouse, and then we can check 1. If you are also sponsoring the green card for your spouse's child or children, let's assume that your spouse has a prior marriage and wants to bring those children in, and then you will need to check the number of the children. So in this case, if let's assume that your spouse doesn't have a prior marriage and no kids, and you're only sponsoring green card for your spouse, so the number should be 1. Next question is about how many dependents do you have? This is a little bit confusing. And you should exclude the people that you're sponsoring. So here the dependents means like you have financial responsibility for this dependents. Let's say if you're only financially for yourself, and your wife. So we exclude your wife, which is the foreign national spouse. So the number of dependent that you have is 0. Another example is if you're financially responsible for you, and you don't need to count yourself. Let's say if you are financially responsible for you and your parent, and then because you have mom and dad, and then the number should be 2. Another example is like if let's assume that you have a prior marriage and you have 3 children that you're financially responsible for. We don't include yourself, so the number of your dependents should be 3. So in this case, let's assume that you don't have any financial responsibility for anybody but you and yourself, you and your wife, and then your wife is your spouse. So for national spouse, so let's just click 1 here. So one thing about this one is you don't need to include, you don't need to count yourself. So let's do 0. The reason that the bot is asking all this is because, as we mentioned before, USCIS wants the sponsor to meet some financial requirement to be able to sponsor the foreign national spouse. So this question is asking about household size. It's simple math. We just need to add you, and then the people you're sponsoring, and your dependents, which is like the 2 numbers that we just entered earlier. So in this case, you counts for 1, and then people you're sponsoring is your national spouse, that's another 1, and your dependents, we just click 0. So the total household size should be 2. Great. Next, the bot is asking, what is your total household annual income in US dollars? It's easy for you to just enter a number, and later on we're going to compare the number with the minimum requirement. So here, let's just suppose that your annual income is 50K. And then we click send. What is your total household annual income in US dollars? Okay, let's just try without $sign. 50K. Great. So no $sign. So far so good. And then the bot will ask you, did you file federal and state tax return for the past 3 years? Normally in the filing, we would want to include the past 3 years tax return to show your income. So it's good that you have all the tax return for the past 3 years. So let's check yes. All right, so up to now, we're done with the first part, the eligibility part. So you can see that the bot is telling you that here is your eligibility report, and then you can take a look, and then we can continue to the second and third step, which is information about you and information about your spouse. Let's check, let's do it. So the first question is, let's talk about you first. Sure. So you will see a information page where you can enter your name. Let's just say, do some simple enter. And then if you do have other names, check this. If you don't have other names, then just go next. Next, you will need to enter your birth information. Let's make up some date here. October 12. Suppose that you were born in 1980. Sex, let's just say male. Country of birth, because you're a US citizen, so you are supposed to be born in the United States. The city of birth, let's see. Let's just pick California. Alright. Next is USCIS online account number. If you do register at USCIS online, and you should be able to have that, but normally if you don't have it, that's fine. For social security number, you should have that. Let's just put. Alright. Next. Next is about your mailing address. Because this is needed because USCIS will mail all the correspondence onto your mailing address. So we make sure that this one is correct and is the most current one. Is the place that where you can get the real mail. So the first question, will it be your address or someone else receive it on your behalf? I'll just say my own address. And then country, United States, street number, let's just do ABC Street, city or town, ABC, state, let's just check, CA, zip code 99999. Don't have apartment. Okay, I have apartment here. Let's just do confirm. So visabot is telling you that your name, your birth information, and your mailing address part has been completed. And the next thing that it's asking you is your current mailing address the same as your physical address. Most of the time these two are the same, but if you do have other physical address, then you can check no and enter those physical addresses. But here, let's just suppose they're the same. So let's just say yes. Next question is about when did you start living at this address, because they want to know like all your addresses for the past 5 years up to the date that you apply the green card. So we want to have that information recorded. So here, to make it easier, I'll do all the way to cover the past 5 years. So let's just say 01/01/2012. So next question is, did you live at any other addresses for the last 5 years? Most of the people move a lot, so if you do live other than that address, the address that we just put, you should say yes. Let's just try it here. So let's just say yes. And then it just asks you about the address information. So let's go from the most recent one to ABC Street. C. City is also, let's just put this ABC. State, let's put California. The code 99999. And then as this, the one covers all the way from all the way to the past 5 years. So let's just do 01/01/01. 2012. Let's just say we have lived in one of the addresses for the past 5 years. So let's just do 012. 31st. Okay, to make this address different from the earlier ones, let's do WR Street. In the town, we can put any town here. We're just like making a sample here just to get you an idea, like if you have more than one addresses and how you enter, and then what are the dates you need to cover. They want to know the start date and the end date. So let's just, even if this one has a little bit overlap with the one that we just put earlier for the mailing at the physical address, but it's okay. When you enter your real address, you know how to do it. Let's just confirm here. So visabot is telling you that your past resident address is completed. And then the next, it's asking you how many times have you been married. Your current marriage counts for 1. So if you have prior marriages, then you should be able to calculate them. Let's just put 1 over here. let's assume that you don't have any prior marriages. And next, you need to provide information about your father. Go ahead. Still, you need to input information, the real name of your father. And next, date of birth. So let's just make something up. So let's just say like this, and state of birth, because you are born in the U.S. So we're supposed that your father's country of birth is also U.S. If your father is still living, where does he live? Just need to provide that information, and then the country of residence. Let's put United States of America as default. Next. Great, the father's part is completed, and then it comes to your mother's information. Same thing here, we just need to put something here. Last name, and then birth date, female, country of birth. Just tell the truth and type in the information. Okay. Okay, so next question is about the filing location. You can just put the city that you and your spouse are living in. So let's just say ABC in California. Great. Next question is, have you ever previously filed a petition for your spouse or any other aliens? Basically, if you have ever filed a petition like a green card application for other aliens, you should disclose that and then provide detailed information regarding when you filed them, did they get denied or approved, and all the related petition numbers. So here we suppose that we don't have anything here, so let's just say no. Great. So next, we need to talk about your employment information. So this is the part we want to know about your past employment. Sure. Basically, we need to provide the current employment information first. Let's just say ABC Inc. Occupation, let's just put teacher for now. Because USCIS wants to know all your employment for the past 5 years, the same as the mailing address, So you want to, if you have like more than one job for the past 5 years, and then you should provide each single one, and for all of them you just need to provide all this detailed information. Let's just say you have been in this you have been employed with this employer for the past 5 years. So let's just do input January 1. So that covers as 5 years. Employer address. Having a little difficulty getting down here. Okay, let's just put this here. So we see Avenue, City, not applicable. Let's do confirm. Great. So yeah, it's still asking that have you been employed during the last 5 years? inside or outside of the United States. So here, if you have worked outside of US for the past 5 years, then you should disclose this information and provide the detailed employment information just like we did earlier. But here, let's just suppose that you have been working for this US employer for the past 5 years. So let's just say no here. So next question is, are you currently on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces or U.S. Coast Guard? If you are, just check yes. So for here, let's just say no. Great, so next question is a set of biographic information. Cool, let's do it. Ethnicity, let's just say non-Hispanic or Latino. Let's just say 6, because you're supposed to be a guy in the hypothetical. So let's put 200 pounds. Eye color black, race, let's just put white. And then hair color, brown. Let's confirm. Yep, you earlier said your current individual income is 50K, so I need some more details on how you make the money. Sure. So this page basically asks you your income again and compare your income with the minimum requirement here for a household of 2. So here the household of 2. If you remember that earlier, we answered about the household size, and then in this hypothetical, we put 2. So the minimum requirement for this household size of 2 is 24,360, and then your income is 50K, which is higher than that, so you meet the requirement. So here, there's an option that saying that I use income from other person who was counted in my household size. Basically, most of the time, if you're sponsoring for your spouse, USCIS wants to see that you are the person who is financially responsible for them. But if you do use other people's money, and then you should disclose here and then check here. But here, let's just say confirm. And then you will need to put your past 3 years federal tax return number here. You will need to put exact number that's shown on your tax return. But here, let's just put 50K for each year to be easy for this one. visabot is reminding you that you must attach a photocopy or transcript of your federal income tax return for the most recent for the most recent year, which is if you're applying in 2017, and then you just need to provide the full copy of the 2016. Let's say if you're applying for in 2018, and then after the tax season, and then you probably need to include that full copy of your 2016 tax return. So if you do have other 2014, 2015 tax return, then you would like to provide, that would be better, because they can see the consistency and more solid proof. So here, let's just say that I can touch both years. Alright, so next it asks about your contact details. USCIS won't contact you by phone or email. They will use mail, but they still need this information just in case. Great. So up to now, we have just completed the second big step, information about you. Next, we need to talk about information about your spouse. Sure. again, we start from the birth information. So let's just say your spouse. Let's here suppose that she's a girl, and then the birth date is because she's a foreign national, so let's just pick another country for just put the first one. In province. You should know that her birth information, or when you fill this out, she should be with you, and then she can provide the information. Okay, next will be your spouse mailing address. So here, if you guys are living together, and then you have an option to say same as my mailing address. If she has her own address, and then you should provide. Ideally, she should have the same address as yours. So you can see that information auto-populates the ones that we entered earlier in your section. Alright. Confirm. So next is about her physical address. Okay, so you will have the option of saying that ideally you and your spouse are supposed to live together, and the USCIS loves to see that. But for some special occasion, if your spouse is living in a different address from you, and then you should disclose that information and also put the address. So let's say most of the time my spouse lives at my physical address. Then you can see that all the information will auto-populate. So here we just say, oops. And then the bot is also asking you, please tell me whether a spouse intends to live in the US in the future. Because this is a marriage-based green card application, so USCIS wants you to prove that this is a bona fide marriage, this is a real marriage. So in real marriages, spouses live together. So for this, ideally we should check my spouse intends to live at this address in the future. And then if she has an address outside US, that's fine, because that's from her home country. And then if you have that, then you should provide that information. But we don't have any information here for her, so we just check the first one and confirm. Oh, so this one we are missing. You guys live together from, let's say you guys started to live together since the date from your marriage, so this date should match your marriage someday after the marriage. So let's just say, or you guys can live together before the marriage, that's also fine. Just provide the real date that you started to live together. Just do some dates here. So again, USCIS needs the addresses information for your spouse's past 5 years. As we already just put that she started living with you from 2012, so to this question, in this hypothetical, she didn't live at other addresses for the last year. But in your real case, if your spouse did live in any other addresses, you should provide detailed information of each address and a start from date. You should be able to have that information available before you fill this out. So for here, let's just say no. Did she or he live at any other address outside the USA more than 1 year? Some of the time, even you guys get married and then your spouse still wants to go back home and live for a while, that's fine. As long as she lives more than 1 year, then you should provide that address. So for here, let's just say no. Great, we're done with the address. And then it asks how many times has she been married. This is about the spouse's prior marriage. You just need to disclose the information that if she has prior marriages, and then you should disclose the information regarding her prior husband, prior marriage date, and prior date of marriage ended. Those information should be ready for you to put there. So here, let's just say she has only been married once, which is with you. Let's put 1. Great, so it comes to your spouse's father information. Again, we'll go ahead and put the name there. Is this individual applying with your spouse? You just need to check if this is true. Most of the time, the parents are not immigrating with your foreign national spouse, so we don't check this one. And if your spouse's father has other names, you should check this one too. So for here, we don't check anything. Let's go to next. Her father's birth date, let's say. As she's a foreign national, so then the dad should be from the same country as her. If the father is still living and lives there, we put this information and go to next. Next about her mother, sure. Let's type in first name again, last name again, same question, we don't check, and then go next. Mother's birth date, let's put and then city of birth, country, let's suppose they're from the same country. You just need to put the information, the true information here. Great. So next it asks, does your spouse have any dependent children? So we covered this question before. If she has prior marriages and then she has children that she wants to bring in when she applies for green card, and you should include that. So basically you're sponsoring your spouse and her children. So here, let's suppose that she doesn't have prior marriage and you don't need to sponsor anyone other than her. We'll just say no. Great, so next one, we need to talk about your spouse's immigrant history. Let's do it. So basically here we ask about your spouse's, as she is currently in the US, and valid immigrant information as we mentioned before. So USCIS wants to know the detailed information about her current immigrant status. The first question is when your spouse last arrived in the US, he was inspected at port of entry as, so that's her status. Let's say she's a temporary worker. And then she should have like a I-94 number. We should have that available. I'm just typing up something here. Is the boss name on 94 same as the passport? Yes. It should always be yes. First name, last name. Oh, this question again, is spouse name on 94 same as in the passport? Sometimes if people change names, and then you should include the name change document. So let's say she has business trips often, so the last date of arrival is sometime earlier this year. So let's just say, and then the expiration date should be her current immigrant status expiration date. Let's just say if she's in H1, and then she should have that expiration date on the 797 or I-94. That should match. Let's just say 2020. Document shown at entry, passport. Okay, you should be able to have her passport number, and then her status, her country is this one, passport expiration date. You should be able to have that information. City last arrival, you should put the city that she last arrived. And then here, as we put CA, let's just put CA here. My spouse changed status since last arrival. No, most of the time, no. If she enters in that H1, she's still H1 status showing on. Let's just suppose that she's in H1B right now. Alien registration number, you don't have that. USCIS online account, you don't have that. If you have registered, you should have that. Alright, so next question is about the social security number. If she doesn't have one, then you don't need to provide. If she has one, you should provide the number here. If someone else filed a petition for a spouse, you will need to provide that information. If your spouse is already in immigration proceedings, then you should ask about that information. You should provide that information, such as like the receipt number of the underlying petition. Let's just say if she has an I-140 pending, and then you should provide that number and information. Next one, my spouse has applied for an immigrant visa to obtain permanent resident status at a U.S. embassy or U.S. consulate abroad. If she is in this situation, which is most likely not the case, you should check this one. But for this case, let's just don't check. Great. So next one, does your spouse intend to travel outside the U.S. before she gets a green card? So the answer to this question is because right now USCIS tends to see that you abandon the travel authorization application if you travel after you submit your green card application. So let's say if your spouse is currently in H or L status, and then she's fine, she can travel. But if she can travel and re-enter in the H or L status. But if your spouse is in a non-H or L, let's say if she's in O1 status and then she travels and then she probably cannot get back. So we recommend that your spouse not travel before at least she gets the work authorization and travel authorization application approved, which is about like 3 to 4 months after the green card application is submitted. So here, let's just say no. Well, let's just try yes and see what comes up. So it asks you about the date of departure. So let's just say if you guys have any trips, please just be mindful that if you guys travel after the application is submitted, and then the 131 form, which is the travel application, will be deemed as abandoned by the USCIS if she wants to re-enter, and then if she's in L and H, and then she can re-enter. If not, then she cannot enter. So here we just put, let's say you guys have any travel plans for next year. Normally we put 14 days. Has she ever been issued a re-entry permit or refugee travel document? Normally no. Is your spouse now in exclusion, deportation, removal, or rescission proceedings? Most of the time no. If yes, then you should disclose it. Where does your spouse want this travel document sent? We normally say to her physical address. So next. So we're done with the immigration history part, and then you need to provide your spouse current employment information. Earlier we said she's in H1, so to this question, in this hypothetical, we should answer yes. current employment, work for a company, or self-employed. Let's just say work for a company. Employee name, UBD Inc. Occupation, let's just say she's engineer. And then she started way before you guys met. Alright, so employment address US, and then we put information here. CD. Let's put CA, just suppose that she works in the same city as you, state as you. No apartment number. Does your spouse want to be authorized to work in the U.S.? Yes, we always say yes, because that will issue her work authorization card. So USCIS also wants to know if she has been employed outside of the U.S. for the past 5 years. As we already mentioned this hypothetical, she started working way before you guys met, and so it covers all the way to 2010, so we just check no here, but in your case, if she has, and then you should disclose the information and provide detailed information about employment outside of the US. So next question, did your spouse work outside of the US? Again, this is a no. Great. So next part should be easy. It's about your spouse's biographic information. Let's do it. Let's say she's not Hispanic or Latino. She's like 5'6". Let's say this is the weight. Let's say she's white. Eye color black. Eye color blue. Hair color black. Let's just confirm. Need her phone number too. Phone number. Email address. Okay, let's confirm. Great, completed. Great, we're done. So visabot is telling you that visabot is processing all the answers and then get back to you either with a ready application or with some follow-up questions, and you just need to wait for 48 hours. Great, you just need to check. I'll be waiting. So this is the end of our tutorial. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and contact us. Thank you.